Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode here on Unscripted. I'm your host Josh Mansour, and before we get into it, as always, please hit that like button, follow us across all platforms at Unscripted, the show. Really appreciate your support, guys. For today's episode, I've got a man that's played a pivotal role in terms of mentoring me and educating me everything about food and discipline. He's also a guy that's really big in the game itself, and I want to introduce to the show Moodi Dennaoui. Moodi.
Thank you very much, brother. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's been longer than a minute.
Yeah.
How you been, brother?
I'm all right, brother. It's just keeping the head above water in Australia. If you're doing that, you're doing well.
Yeah. And what else have you been doing? God, let it all out.
Been busy with the meals. I'm just about to launch a supplement, a new supplement range, a new apparel range, and getting into some other bits and pieces like exploring construction and yeah.
What are you
trying to diversify a little bit?
I wanted to ask you, I've always wanted to ask you this. What are you most passionate about? I know you've got a passion in nutrition, food. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's the best way to say this. In the beginning, it was a very selfish exploration, as it always is. Like, we're always told, get your passions to pay your bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If your passions are paying your bills, you live in the dream. That was the very definition of living the dream. And then once you do that, you realize there's still a little bit of emptiness, right? Like, hypothetically, let's say I was a maths teacher, love maths. I still like to do past HSC papers. And if that's paying my bills and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, great. But if your passions don't pay your bills and improve the quality of lives of people around you, then you're always going to feel like you're falling short. And just before we started, you said you were talking about your academy and how you're hands-on. Now, imagine you weren't hands-on. You won't have that feeling of satiety at the end of the day.
There's no fulfillment.
Correct. So once you find something that pays your bills and adds value to the people's lives that you interact with on a regular basis, or even people's lives that you don't interact with, that's living the dream. That's euphoria. I've bumped into people on a plane that have lost 30 kilos that I've never met, just by following some tips online. I eat the way you told me to eat. I follow your meals. I questioned the macros on your pepper steak when you said they were 249 because the protein bar's 350, until I started to see the weight fall off. And it's a life-changing experience.
Well, I know you're very generous with your time, but I think as the older you get and the more things you get on your plate, it's hard, right? But so that's why I appreciate and want to thank you for coming in. But I also want to thank you because, like, you've been so important to me, and I know we don't catch up every day or speak every day, but why I want to thank you is the way you've educated me how I look at food, the discipline that comes with that as well, but also training and the mindset that comes with that.
Yeah.
And not only me, but there's so many people, we were speaking about it before, so many people that you've changed their lives and their trajectory in their lives by either tutoring them when they're in their school days.
Your wife was my...
My wife was my... That's what I'm saying. Like, how important... I don't know. Did you ever see yourself as this role model?
No. My goal was just to survive university because I was getting into so much mischief when I was younger. I went to uni. I don't know if I've mentioned it to you before, but I picked nuclear medicine as a joke, and I ended up getting accepted into Sydney University. And by the time I got accepted, I went to orientation day and I couldn't remember what I had picked. So I lined up in, I think, radiography, and I was very street. And they looked at me and said, "Your name is not on the list." And I said, "Hey," I took offense. Like, hang on a second. You sent me a letter of acceptance. Sydney University has accepted you. They said, "Yeah, you might be a student here, but you're definitely not on this list. So maybe check the others." So she asked the other lecturers and found me in Nuke Med. And I was like, "Is that good?" I didn't even know what it was because I picked it as a joke. She said, "Hang on a second, you picked a course as your first preference without knowing what it is." And I'm like, I was just playing. I was pretending. I was lying through my teeth. I said, "No, I know what it is. I just want to know what your opinion of nuclear medicine is. You know, give me your opinion of nuclear medicine." And I had no idea what it was. It just sounded cool. And I stayed at uni because I was subjected to, courses like anger management, stress management. And the more I didn't study, the more my mind played games on me. I didn't realize I was diagnosed on the spectrum when I had to do a psych assessment, because every sentencing requires a psych assessment.
Never knew that.
So I with diagnosis, I was like, okay, I know what I need to do to not get in trouble,
Yep.
and that is to keep my mind occupied, to study, and mathematics, rational thinking, and that worked for me. Nuclear medicine was great. I loved the theory, but I didn't like working in a hospital.
No disrespect to Punchbowl Boys if anyone's watching, but how does a boy from Punchbowl Boys go and study nuclear medicine?
We get every year we'd have like one or two that would do quite well.
Yeah.
Like some of the, I remember there's a very good doctor that has graduated from Punchbowl Boys prior to us. He got almost, I think, 100% in his ATAR. Actually, back then it was it UAI?
Yeah.
UAI. There was UAI before that it was TER when I was doing my HSC. It's called TER, which is a little bit tougher, the scaling. So Dr. Moodi Dennaoui is a student of Punchbowl Boys. There are some very good lawyers that have come out from there, some very good physiotherapists. But the average was below 15%. The average was below 15%. Now, if you get below 30, they don't even tell you your mark, I think. But back then it was 15. So the average was 15 and under.
Is that concerning?
I don't know. I think it's changed for the better now. Okay. You've had a few good principles that have gone through. But I always thought public schooling didn't get the credit that it deserves. Public education
it still doesn't.
It still doesn't get the credit it deserves. They're great at paying attention to the details of what the child needs, and that's what the beauty of education is. And for anyone who's looking to become a teacher, or we're all teachers in some way, shape, or form. If you've got kids, you're a teacher. If you've got if you're mentoring anyone, you're a teacher by default. And the trick to teaching is not to try and create minions of yourself. Like, your job is not to turn your children into smaller versions of you. It's rather everyone's got bad traits and good traits. It's to try to get the human being to suppress the ego and suppress the bad characteristics that we all come with.
Of course. And
your job as a parent or an educator or a mentor, like with these kids that you're coaching, is to find out what they're good at, what God has given them that He hasn't given anyone else, that luminosity, and bring that to the surface. That's your job, to bring that luminosity to the surface.
You know the saying that we want to make our kids' lives more comfortable than our own?
Yeah.
I kind of don't think I agree with that, eh?
No.
I agree with it in a certain...
It's already too comfortable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's a level of... But like, being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. Like, there's lessons and learnings with that, with hardship, right?
Yeah, if you don't experience it, how are you going to know what...
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's, I think, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you want to teach your kids the lessons you've learned from your own mistakes so they don't have to do it. But at the same time, it kind of made... Going through those mistakes and those tough times made you more of a resilient person.
It's what molded you.
Yeah.
But that's the approach that you need to take, not just with academia or work. Or you mentioned exercise and nutrition and training before. It's hard for a nutritionist to say, because a lot of people in this industry have ego. Right? The most fragile egos in the world, I'll always say it, are trainers and chefs. Try telling them they're wrong.
Just from experience. From experience.
Good luck. So what you want to do is try and mold. In order to mold yourself to be resilient, you cannot have this approach where you say my industry is the most important industry, or nutrition is more important than training, or training is more important than supplementation. You have to apply yourself. Like when I first started working with you, I said to you, your title is a professional football player. But before you're a football player, you're a professional. Whether the cameras are on you or not, whether you're on the field or not. So whether you're sleeping, whether you're eating, that's all part of your work. So it's not 50% this, 30% this, and 20% this. No, it's 100% everything. Otherwise, you're never going to see your potential. You've got to apply yourself 100% to your family life, 100% to your training, 100% to your nutrition. And only then will you experience what you're truly capable of.
With all that said, you get your sleep in order, you get your diet in order, you get your supplement intake in order, all that stuff. Are you going to see an incremental gain in the way you feel and act?
But you're going to change what homeostasis is. A lot of people don't even know what it means to feel good. I speak to 25-year-olds who've got blood markers. I had one patient on the phone this morning, not 30 yet, but some of the blood markers were like a 65-year-old. So we have a chronological age, and our biological age is a lot higher than our chronological age, when it should be the opposite.
Wow.
Because we've got the resources, we've got the research, we've got the education, we've got the capacity to, and we do live longer. We've got the capacity to, and it's not really just about living longer, it's about having a better quality of life.
Sure.
So we've got the resources, but instead what we do is we wait till the problem occurs and then try and put a Band-Aid on it.
And then act as
then
well.
act on it. And it's the nature of the industry, though. The industry serves the industry, it doesn't serve humanity. And we are creating graduates that come out of university that are not hungry to learn. Like, how many nutritionists are there in Australia? How many did you called me? Why? It doesn't mean that I'm smarter than the next nutritionist, but I've made an effort not to become stagnant when it comes to knowledge. If there's something new about peptides, I want to know about it, because people are going to ask me.
And that's the first topic we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go. You can't not know. Like, you can't say, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know. It shows humility. But it's your job to learn. You've got the tools to research. Like, I went to uni when there was no internet. So if I wanted to know about creatine, I literally spent I'd say about 7 or 8 hours reading about creatine in the aisle of Sydney University Library, because I wanted to know whether loading was something that I really needed to do or not. And the only motivation behind it was I was so poor, I said to myself, if I load the creatine with 5 grams 4 or 5 times a day, I'm going to run out of this tub, and I can only afford to buy one supplement at a time. If I don't need to load, then I don't want to. So I really want to know if this is just a gimmick to finish the tub quicker, or whether it was a fact. So due to financial circumstances, I was forced to do the digging manually to find out how to take creatine correctly. Back in 1997, sitting in the library of Sydney University Cumberland campus. And that drive doesn't exist anymore. People will ask AI, they'll ask Google, and they'll take that as gospel.
Yeah.
And the problem is, you've got articles now due to AI, and I've got nothing against AI, but AI is to deduce, not to produce. There's a difference. And we are not using our brain, which is a muscle that needs to be exercised. You need to be able to articulate what you put into it, because it is only going to try and please you. And I've actually seen articles, imagine this, published, peer-reviewed, with the AI prompt still on there.
Wow.
So imagine you're reading an article about, MK677, and you're reading 30 pages, and you get to the end of it, and then you see AI prompts at the end that weren't picked up on when it was published, weren't picked up on when it was peer-reviewed by other doctors, and now the entire article, or the credibility of the entire article, is now thrown out the window, because we're not reading. We're entering the data into AI and telling us, summarize it for me.
Yeah.
So no one's picking up on the AI prompts. Then the peer reviewer is entering it into ChatGPT as well, and it's not picking up on the AI prompts either. So no one's doing their due diligence.
It's funny you say that, because like I now have, I guess, not that I'm accustomed to it, but I can identify when someone is ChatGPTing me an email. Or like,
without a doubt.
Without it, I can spot it a mile away.
How
now.
many people use hyphens when they're typing? Come on, bro.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
It's not common, and there's certain words that are repetitive as well.
Yeah.
That I've noticed. I've noticed certain words that are repetitive. But like I said, the brain is a muscle that needs to be exercised. We're seeing early onset dementia, early onset of Alzheimer's, early onset. Like the average MS patient that I have now is under 30, when it used to be over 60. Only like a decade ago. Under 30 with MS. And all degenerative diseases of the brain, essentially the cells shrinking and dying off due to the engine component of the cell, the mitochondria, dying.
Yeah.
Why is it dying? Because you don't give it the nutrients to fuel the engine via, for instance, vitamin K, leafy green vegetables.
And hydrated.
Staying hydrated, because cells communicate via water and electricity. But also, you are not exercising your brain. What a very important muscle.
What a waste to exercise the brain.
The two I'll talk about research-based evidence. The two research-based evidence proven methods of exercising the brain. One of them is reading material that is beyond your level of understanding.
Wow.
So abstract material. You know, you're Muslim, read the Quran. You're Christian, read the Bible. That's abstract material because you got to think when you're reading books like that. Or just grab a book. I'll give you the example with magazines. When I'm dealing with a child, I'll tell the parent who wants the child to read, don't pick up a car magazine because it's colloquial and slang, the language. Pick up a soccer magazine or a football magazine because the articles are written using
technical and detailed
proper language in English that is used with, you know, detailed grammar, and it's not colloquial and street talk, right? Half the words, and that's why English is the second largest language on planet Earth, because it's otherwise known as the bastard language, because every day there's a new word added to the vocabulary that didn't exist.
What's first? Mandarin?
Arabic. That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah, wow.
Arabic's got 12.6 million roughly, or 12 million if you want to round it down, and English is about 600,000. But still, if you look at that as a percentage, English is still only 5% of Arabic. That's why if you take a beautiful Arabic poem, try and translate it in English, you're never going to do it justice.
Yeah.
How many times have you tried to explain something in Arabic?
Don't start me. It doesn't make sense.
Can't be done.
Yeah, it can't.
Can't be done. Like it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid. Even jokes, and like,
Yeah,
and
like-
if you've tried to translate them, your
myself.
friends will just give you side eye.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Far out. Well, you mentioned one of the topics I want to talk about, and that's, of course, the rise of peptides. Like, I feel like that's something we need to talk about. So peptides for me, let me just explain peptides for me. So peptides for me were kind of introduced to me in, I think it was 2011 when the Cronulla Sharks kind of...
The debacle.
The debacle, right?
Yeah.
With Stephen Dank introducing the peptides to the players and whatnot. So back in the day, I remember that it was like blood getting spun, getting injected into the players. And I actually don't know the whole process itself, but peptides was made to be this thing where it was in par with like taking, I guess, testosterone or growth as a performance enhancing stimulant. Anyway, so I've never heard of it again until recently, like in the last 2 years. That's fair to say. But now there's so many versions of peptides. Can you please just narrow it down for me and explain to me what are peptides?
For
Are
the
they good
layman,
for us?
the layman, they're basically molecules that signal your muscles or tendons or your body to do certain things.
Okay.
And back then, if you remember, when it was just, I think there were two that were rampant and everybody was using. And I think was it Sandor Oil that got pulled up for it with Danks. I think Gal did too. And there was RP6, which is almost like taking insulin because all it does is drop your blood sugar levels and forces you to eat copious amounts of foods. But the advantage was the glycogen is driven into the muscles, not stored as fat, allegedly. So there was RP6 and there was CJC 1295 from back then. And I remember a few people were taking CJC, getting the timing wrong and passing out on the streets of Punchbowl. Yeah, I'm serious. I had one of my mates.
That would have been a whole suburb of people just passed out with the pass.
One of my mates said, his mum looked at him and said, "You're looking a bit pale, are you okay?" So he goes, "Yeah, I'm all right." Opened up the back door to go into the backyard to feed the dog, I think. And he dropped through, he fell 3 or 4 stairs and face planted. Yeah.
Would have been booked for those job.
Those two were rampant. Then they changed RP6 to RP2. So it essentially did the same thing without the sugar drop, which makes the person insatiably hungry. It increases a hormone called ghrelin. We've got two hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is good because it's a satiety hormone. Then ghrelin tells you eat everything and anything.
Does that come from stress as well?
Ghrelin comes from a variety of things. Stress is one of them. And sometimes the body releases ghrelin to save you as a human being. Because the body's objective is not to get you to look pretty and have a six-pack. The body's goal is survival. So sometimes you'll notice the days that you don't sleep well, you might crave Macca's that day or kebab. Whereas on an ordinary day where you've slept well, had breakfast, you're not thinking of these things. So the body's got two ways of means of recovery. It's got sleep, primary recovery. There's others, but primary recovery mechanisms are sleep, food. If you don't give it enough of one, it will force you to seek the other. You don't get enough sleep, your body says, hang on a second, I'm going to increase ghrelin because you didn't give me what I needed to recover, so I need more calories to sustain this thing called life. On the flip side, you don't eat enough, you start feeling flat and lethargic because the body's not going to make you pumped up and motivated to go to the gym. Why would your body want you to burn calories you don't have? You need a certain number of calories just to sustain life, your basal metabolic rate. So if you're not eating enough, the body says, I'm going to settle you down so you're not active to sustain life. Peptides allow the human body to do things that food can do, but in a more acute way. So for instance, you've got a ligament or a tendon tear. You'll take what people are calling the Wolverine stack, BPC 157, TB 500. Does it work? Yes, on especially those particular peptides, there's enough research on them.
The recovery peptide, basically.
Correct, the recovery stuff. But the stuff that, like the new one that everyone's taking, rituximab, that's an appetite suppressant, and others that, you know, trigger muscle growth quite aggressively. Some of them are so, people get this misconstrued. Some of them are so strong that you need to do post-cycle therapy afterwards. So just like you do a steroid cycle, after a steroid cycle, you need to do post-cycle therapy. You need to take your, you know, HCG, clomiphene, and all the things to get your body's regular glands in your brain to produce the hormones that are now came to a halt. To get everything back to normal, you have to do post-cycle therapy. Peptides these days are so strong that they behave in a very similar fashion to steroids, and you need to do post-cycle therapy. Do they have a place? Yes. But a lot of them, I don't think yet, because there's not enough research. There is research, but they're animal-based studies. The studies are on mice, not human beings.
Chalk and cheese, essentially.
You have to have enough clinical trials, longitudinal studies on human beings to then be able to say confidently that this works, because we know they work, but we don't know the long-term side effects yet for a lot of them.
So you agree peptides are overhyped, especially over on social media?
Overhyped because they are, again, a Band-Aid fix. A lot of people that take peptides, the type of person that shops around for peptides, and I'm not saying everybody, but I'd say a good 80% of people that ask me questions about peptides are the type of people that should be getting on a treadmill first.
Yep.
You're overweight.
They look for it as an easy fix.
It's not going to change much. Like, you're overweight, you're not sleeping enough, you're not drinking water, you're not eating the right foods, and you're wondering about how you should stack this, you know, $2,000 purchase of peptides that you've just recently made. It doesn't make sense. Address all the other issues first.
Agreed.
And then because at the end of the day, it's a supplement. It's not a replacement. It's never going to replace hard work.
So if you put peptides and steroids together, like, what separates the two?
Steroids have a much more magnified effect at getting the job done. And the thing is, at least things like testosterone have like so much research behind them. And that's why doctors are allowed to go out and prescribe, you know, testosterone replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy for those who are trying to have a kid. But we don't have enough data on a lot of the peptides that are being sold to confidently say that there are no contraindications and any consequences to taking them. Like we've had, there was a footy player that passed away from taking peptides from Parramatta, if you remember. Manor?
No. Pedro, could you just fact check that, brother?
Checking now, guys.
Thank you. Manor.
Died from cancer.
Yes, Manor.
Yeah, but he was on peptides. Didn't it accelerate? I'm pretty sure it wasn't growth hormone. I'm pretty sure it was a peptide.
And it accelerated his cancer?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
One of the footy players' brothers.
Yeah, Tim Manners. Joseph Manor, was it?
So I remember the community.
John Manor.
Yeah. He passed away, and they were trying to blame growth hormone at the time, I think, but I don't think he was on growth hormone. I think he was on peptides.
Interesting. It was him, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's you. If you're doing regular bloods, what's sad is that the average person hasn't done a blood test and unless they've gone to hospital. Like, you haven't even done a GP blood test. Go get a sports blood test done.
Yeah.
That's what I make all my patients do. Do an endocrinology report, check your C-reactive protein, your risk of cardiovascular disease, check your vitamin D levels.
I've never done that.
Like that's the basics, that's the fundamentals. Because if you're vitamin D deficient, no peptide's going to fix that. Get your vitamin D levels in check. Vitamin D is a hormone.
Yeah.
Get your free testosterone levels in check. Create a new benchmark of what normal feels like. Create a new level of homeostasis, and then you'll know what it truly means to feel good. And then you'll be able to gauge what works and what doesn't and what's for you.
It's interesting what you said as well about peptides, and there's not enough data and research behind the supplement, if you want to call it that. Could we see something similar to what we're seeing now with people that have had Ozempic?
That went viral a little bit too quick. So the problem with weight loss drugs is they are not coupled with, just like the people who do the gastric sleeve and the gastric bypass surgeries, they are not coupled with, although they are offered, therapy, a psychologist, a nutritionist. So these things are offered to patients, but often they don't use them. And if you don't, you've got to remember, you're taking a stomach that is the size of a normal human stomach and changing it to 30 cc's, right? And that's what Ozempic essentially, and what's the other one? Mounjaro and Ozempic, they're two different types of drugs. One of them controls your blood sugar levels, and the other one controls your ghrelin hormone. So one of them is an appetite suppressant directly, whereas the other one controls your blood sugar levels to change what your body does with food. So its secondary effect is weight loss, not its primary effect. It's like L-carnitine. L-carnitine doesn't burn fat directly, but it turns fat to fuel. So essentially, your body's doing something different with fat other than storing it. And the byproduct is weight loss. The thing is with these drugs is people are introduced into how to use them. They have little to no knowledge on how to taper off them. I've seen people balloon into larger weights than when they first started. So they don't know how to get off the drugs. They're not told that, okay, you're not going to be able to eat as much food as you were before, just like the person who's done a gastric sleeve surgery. So you have to be very cautious with meeting your micronutrient needs. You'll notice people that do the weight loss surgeries, the gastric sleeves and the gastric bypass, they'll age very quick in the face. They'll age 10 years in the face within the first 6 months, and they have this yellowy type appearance to their skin.
Yes, I have noticed that.
That jaundice, because that's micronutrient deficiency. If you go from eating 2.5, or most of these people are eating 4.5 to 5,000 calories a day, to now eating 600 calories a day, 700 calories a day, because your stomach doesn't fit any more than that.
Massive drop.
It's a big drop, but if those 600 calories don't come from quality foods that have the entire spectrum of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, then you're going to be micronutrient deficient by default, because you're only able to eat a small amount of food. Right. And that amount of food has to contain A to Z of all of those categories. If not, then you have to be supplementing correctly. And how many people do that? They see the weight come off and they celebrate. And like I said, getting back off them and back to normal life without having this sudden spike in metabolic changes, that's where the tricky part is. Because weight fluctuation is more dangerous than gaining weight. To give you an idea, a rapid onset of weight up and down requires about 12 months for the organs to adapt.
Wow.
So you could age by 12 months for every 5 kilos that you gain and lose rapidly. And I know people that gain and look at fighters. Fighters will gain and lose 20, 30 kilos at a time.
Fighters are probably the main case for this, but
that's why they age so quickly.
I remember like footy players as well, like with the start of pre-season, they'll turn up and then they'll be put into fat club. And we're talking about players that are coming in 5 kilos, 10 kilos. I remember I saw a player come in 20 kilos overweight. I won't mention who it is.
Yeah.
He was in fat club for the whole duration of pre-season, which was a 3-month period. He'll have to rock up to pre-season training every single morning before anyone else, go for a massive cardio session, burn as many calories as possible, and then he's joining the team, doing on-field stuff.
On top of that.
On top.
How do you recover?
You just got to get on with it. You just got to crack on. That's the mentality. You just got to it's almost like a punishment, right? But at the same time, like it is what it is. Like you wanted to come back overweight, you wanted to come back underprepared, then deal with it. Pay the consequences.
But if you remember back then, the clubs were, well, I won't mention names either,
Yep.
but there were some clubs where it wasn't, this wasn't their post-game feed, it was post-training. They'd get them KFC.
Well, I've never experienced that. I'll back my clubs that I've played at.
There's a couple in the other side of where you played.
There were some teams that, there were some times where we were rewarded maybe pizza, but I have to say, probably 5 years into my career, nutrition started to be looked at more closely and more valued within an organisation. So, for example, when I was at Penrith, when we moved into our high performance setup, we had our own chef. We had gourmet meals. We were also educated in the sense of like what to eat, what not to eat. You know, pretty basic stuff. But the biggest thing as well was about portion control. So players, me myself included, before I saw you, was, fine, I'm just going to load up my plate with as much food as possible. Yeah, it's healthy, but also
is it too much?
Is it too much? Know. Exactly.
The biggest mistake that a lot of us make, including myself, when dealing with elite players and elite teams, is I walked in having the assumption that they knew what a macro was.
No.
I remember I walked into a club once and I was talking to a high level player and I said to them as a group, "What's your protein intake like?" And then I had one guy say, "What's protein? I had a dumpling earlier. I had dumplings earlier. Is that protein or carbs?" I'm like, the exterior is probably carbohydrate and the interior is probably protein. But
yes.
Then I realized that it was my fault because I made the assumption. So like you do with school kids, you draw 3 big circles on the whiteboard: protein, carbs, fats.
Yes.
Okay, great. Give me some examples of protein. Fish, eggs, milk, very good. Give me some examples of fats. Avocado, very good. We're not taught this stuff at school. But we make the assumption that we know, that everyone knows.
We're talked about, what's talked about in school, what's educated to kids is the food pyramid.
Upside down, yeah. That's one of the reasons why I studied, yeah.
So you do agree with that?
Yeah, so we've got something now that's a little bit more accurate called the Harvard food pyramid. It's a little bit more realistic and more in tune with what we should be or how we should be eating.
I haven't heard
about
that.
But the food pyramid was created by the industry.
Oh, shit.
The cereal industry, to be specific. Because when those posters went into all the schools, when I saw them as a teacher, I said, who's paying for this? You need beautiful, glossy, laminated posters that are telling us to eat 7 to 9 servings of bread, pasta, cereal on the base. And I'm like, mate, bread, every guy loves bread. The smell of bread is a massive aphrodisiac, apparently. But the smell of bread is bread's fantastic, especially but you can't eat 7 to 9
culture.
Yeah, in the Lebanese culture. Wow, you walk past a bakery, and okay, you can eat a certain amount of bread, but you'll feel like crap. Pasta, I can't eat a single serving of pasta unless it's veggie pasta. It's too heavy for me. But what raised alarm bells was cereal. Why would you recommend what's supposed to be a breakfast food 7 to 9 times a day, or 7 to 9 portions per day of cereal? And then at the same time, you'll remember those Wheat Bix commercials come out, and they had every athlete.
Yes, they still do.
Sitting there saying, I do 14 Wheat Bix. You've got kids that are in grade 2 or grade 3 watching their favourite soccer player or footy player eating 14 Wheat Bix when they don't need more than 3. Right? They need a piece of fruit.
Maybe I take it as a challenge as well.
Yeah, exactly. And my favourite player, my favourite athlete, the person I look up to is doing 14. So I need to do 14 Wheat Bix too. And it was funded by Sanitarium itself. It's agenda driven. A lot of it is agenda driven.
I want to take you back. You mentioned macros, right? A lot of people don't, and especially if athletes don't know what a macro is.
Yeah.
Pedro, I'll ask you, what's a macro?
I don't know, like a unit of something. If you eat something, you get like a number, I'm guessing.
Josu, what's a macro? What is it? What is it though?
Yeah. What's a macro? What's the difference between a macro and a micro?
Can you? And I'm gonna be honest with you, like obviously
the first part of the word gives it away.
Well, I reckon everyone that's watching, well, 90% of them don't know what that is.
Macronutrients are the bulk of what food is made out of. So, for instance, if we call something a protein, it means that the dominant macronutrient in that food is protein. For example, chicken contains protein, carbs, and fat, but we don't call it a carbohydrate and we don't call it a fat. Because chicken breast is the dominant macronutrient in there is protein. So we call it protein. Likewise, avocado has a small percentage of carbohydrates, a small percentage of trace elements of protein, and it also incomplete proteins, but it's still got protein nonetheless, and some amino acids, and it's got fats. But the dominant macro is fat. So avocado is branded as a fat.
Yes.
We are a society that is very, very obsessed with macros, counting macros, minting macros, irrespective. And you've got these clowns on Instagram that will sit down and bring out a box of donuts and say, these donuts are healthier than the box of dates because the dates have sugar in them and they have more calories. And I'm like, but dude, they have fiber, they've got vitamins, minerals, magnesium, potassium, calcium. You can't compare donuts to dates. Like, it doesn't work that way. And kids are following it. And that's what's heartbreaking. And these people are gaining momentum because of the shock factor.
Correct.
And that's all you have to do. And every Tom, Dick, and Abdul on Instagram these days is an educator, right? You've got a platform, you got an Instagram account, you got a TikTok account, and you speak English, you're an expert. That's all it takes.
So are we meant to count macros or not?
To be honest with you, if you can eyeball something, the goal is to be able to eyeball something and know that this is right or this is enough. And to do that, yes, everyone should, I think, exercise weighing their food, not forever. Maybe for a week or two. Weigh your food just so you know what a portion really looks like. So if you're out at a restaurant and the portion that comes out is 2 portions, you know to have half of it and not put yourself in a food coma and take the other half to go.
Yeah.
If you're at a barbecue, you know how much you should be eating because food is neither for function nor just for fun. It's for function and sometimes for fun. It's not just one or the other. We use food as a form of reward or punishment.
Yes.
So I've been good Monday to Friday. I'm going to have a binge meal, Friday night or Saturday morning or Sunday. And then it goes on for 3 days like a marathon. And then, I feel like crap. I'm going to do steamed fish, steamed barramundi and asparagus for the next 5 days. There's no in between. There's no balance. It's torture. Then your relationship with food becomes toxic. So you don't look at food as fuel anymore. You don't look at, you start to misconstrue food as something that you cannot enjoy. You cannot be part of cultural gatherings or gatherings with your friends and your family. That's the mistake that I made in the very beginning when I was competing. Like my biggest regret is not eating my mother's cooking for about 7 years because I was competitive and I wouldn't have an off day. There was no such thing as a cheat meal for almost a decade. And that was my biggest regret because now I know that had I eaten that food, had I had a cheat meal, it wouldn't have made any difference at all. If anything, I would have been healthier because the body is meant to experience the extremities. We are at our best. That's why we have contrast therapy, cold, hot, ice bath, sauna, fasting days, calorie surplus days. The body, to reach its pinnacle, has to experience the extremities to be able to tap into your potential in any way.
Love that. Let's talk about creatine. It's obviously the most studied supplement on the market.
Most studied supplement on planet Earth.
Oh, there you go. I regret kind of not really educating myself in the early stages of my career with creatine because whenever I thought about creatine, and you touched on it before, it was always going to make me loaded and bloated and
that's why I never
full of water.
Because of the water retention.
Correct. Can we debunk that right now? And can you give us an explanation of what does creatine actually do?
Some people will still respond very badly to creatine. Like if I don't have creatine with food, I will get stomach cramps.
I appreciate you bringing that up because I remember I didn't eat. I was 6:30 in the late in the afternoon, and the last meal I had was around 11 o'clock. I drank my water with creatine in it, and it ruined me.
Lower abdomen pain?
Nah, I was nauseous. I couldn't even enjoy my dinner.
Yeah, nausea is one of the side effects. But the lower abdomen pain, like on a couple of occasions, I've had to take like a Buscopan Fort.
Wow.
For the severe stomach cramps that it's caused. But it was my fault because it requires a delivery mechanism. What you have to look at when it comes to supplements is how do we know about them? How do we know about this particular
Because they've been
supplement?
tested.
They exist either in nature or in food or in the human body. L-carnitine is a perfect example. How do we know about L-carnitine? How do we know about creatine? How do we know about glutamine? Because the human body creates them. No one created anything. There's no scientist that sat in a lab that came up with creatine. No scientist has created anything from scratch.
It's true.
Right? And we believe only God can do that. And so it exists either in the human body or it exists in nature. Now, creatine, glutamine, L-carnitine, great supplements. Take the supplement, but while you're taking the supplement, ask yourself, how can I increase my own saturation of this stuff naturally? L-carnitine is a great fat burner, but you lose a lot of it as you get older, so your metabolism starts to slow down. Ask yourself, why does my metabolism change and why does my carnitine saturation get lower as I get older? It's because I'm not eating enough vitamin C. That's one of the building blocks for carnitine. So while I'm taking the carnitine supplement, I'm going to make an effort to increase my vitamin C intake. I'm going to eat kiwi fruit with the skin. I'm going to eat more grapefruit with
Capsicum?
the pith. Everything that has vitamin C. And I'm going to supplement with vitamin C and address the cause, not just the symptom. Creatine is a little bit different. You can't get 5 grams of creatine from eating red meat, even if you're following a carnivore diet. You'd need to eat kilograms of red meat to get a little bit of creatine. So supplementing with it is a great advantage. And now that it's micronized and we have even hydrochloride versions of creatine, the bioavailability of it is great. And studies now show that if you take more than the recommended daily intake, that it's got cognitive benefits as well. And that's scientifically proven.
But how much more do we need to take for it to penetrate the brain barrier?
I think it should be assessed on a day-to-day basis. Like, I know there's a lot of people that are going on, and there's a lot of snippets of podcasts going viral with a certain scientist saying, if you don't know what it feels like to be functioning at optimal level unless you're taking 10 grams of creatine a day, you're up to 20.
Isn't that abusing it now?
That's to compensate for deficiency in sleep. So if you want to access your brain as if you've had a well-rested sleep, you might need 10 grams of creatine that day. But do you need 10 grams of creatine every day?
No.
I don't think so. I think it should be something that you assess on a day-to-day basis. But if we did know, the takeaway from that though is, if we did know the efficacy, if doctors knew the efficacy of creatine back then, from the beginning it would be prescription.
Wow.
That's how strong it is.
Wow.
A lot of these supplements would be prescriptions that would not be available over the counter. That's how strong they are. But we abuse them, caffeine included.
When do you have creatine?
Creatine is effective. I think the most important thing is saturation in the blood. So it's not about pre-workout, post-workout, intra. I think do whatever, take your creatine in a fashion that is going to allow you to not forget to take it. So if you're the type of person that's very diligent with your post-workout protocol,
Yes.
then put it in your protein shake.
That's what I do.
And have some, put some dextrose or maltodextrin or coconut water preferably, because you get the insulin spike, you get better delivery of creatine. If you're very diligent with intra, with me, I'm more inclined to have food after training, but my intra-workout protocol is very diligent. Electrolytes, etc., citrulline, beta-alanine. So I'll add the creatine to my intra. Mm-hmm. If you're diligent with your pre-workout, I don't take pre-workout, so I don't have a pre-workout protocol. So if you're diligent with a pre-workout protocol, then maybe add it to that. But add it in a way that's going to allow you to remember it. And it does not matter so much if you load it, because this glass, I'll give you an example. Think of this glass as your peak saturation of creatine.
Yep.
Let's say this glass is 250 mils.
Yep.
If I put 50 mils in there per day, it will fill up after 5 days.
Yep.
If I put 250 mils in there in one day, it'll fill up in one day, but it'll fill up nonetheless. If I put 10 mils a day, it's going to take 25 days, but it will fill up nonetheless. That's what creatine loading is, reaching peak saturation sooner rather than later. So if you're not in any rush, take your 3, 4, 5 grams of creatine per day, whatever your recommended daily intake is. Take more of it when you're feeling sluggish for the cognitive effects, like 10 grams, 15 grams, on the days where you've got an important meeting but you haven't slept enough to compensate for the deficiency in sleep, to get that brain alertness, that mental acuity. But in terms of performance, for strength, that short burst energy, that's what it's for. ATP is what it's called, adenosine triphosphate. Just load it in a fashion that is not going to give you stomach cramps, and be consistent, and you will reach peak saturation eventually anyway.
Is there someone that shouldn't take creatine? Or is it recommended across the board?
I would say, obviously, anyone that's pregnant, but if you don't know how you're going to react to creatine, microdose, and have it around food. I wouldn't even have it I wouldn't have it in an electrolyte mix or a BCAA mix and call it a day and go to the gym, because the stomach cramps and the nausea are real symptoms of creatine. So I would make sure that I have it just before I have some food, because having carbohydrates and in the form of food rather than dextrose or a liquid carbohydrate serves as a very, very effective delivery mechanism. So it doesn't basically it doesn't sit in the gut as long.
Yep.
The longer something sits in your gut, the more problems you're going to have.
So with creatine, word has it that it creates kidney problems, hair loss, bloating.
Hair loss.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's all bullshit.
Man, bloating, if you take it on an empty stomach with just water,
Yep.
and you're taking the old school creatine that's not micronized, 100%, especially if you're taking 10, 15 grams. Kidney problems, a lot of people that make those claims, at one stage they were claiming protein powder. There was a case that had whereby there was a patient suing a supplement company, without mentioning the name of the supplement company. I know because I used to use that particular supplement. And that person was trying to blame, or the family was trying to blame, the kidney failure and eventual death of that individual because of the protein powder.
Wow.
Kidney damage had already been too far gone. And this individual, should they have opted to have copious amounts of red meat, the same outcome would have occurred. Because large portions of protein or large portions of hard to digest food are just as taxing on the kidneys as any other supplement that you are going to take.
That's true.
Because it takes quite a bit of effort to break down a large steak, especially if your fiber intake sucks. We should be addressing, one of the things that we should be addressing, that everybody should be addressing, that we don't talk about. We talk about gut health, but we don't talk about the key to gut health, which is fiber. When we're looking at labels, we're not looking at the ingredients, we're looking at the macro chart at the back. You're not eating numbers, you're eating the ingredients. Just because something is like low fat or low carb, it doesn't mean it's good for you. Read the ingredients. They're mentioned in descending order. So the first ingredient on the label is the most abundant ingredient, followed by the second most abundant, and so on and so forth. Read the ingredients. The food that you're eating is made up of the ingredients, not just the numbers that you're reading. And it's tough to break down certain foods, especially, and the recommended fiber intake for a human being is only 20 to 25 grams.
Yeah.
We don't even have that. And we wonder why we have gut issues.
Well, if we're going to touch on nutrition, what's the biggest mistake athletes make when it comes to nutrition, in your opinion?
They treat food as, yes, I've said earlier that as a professional, everything is professional. Your food is professional, supplementation, sleep, etc. But the one thing that you have to look at holistically is food. Don't treat nutrition just for performance. Nutrition is, every building block in your very being is made out of the food that you eat. It's not a metaphor when people say the proverbial statement of you are what you eat.
Yep.
It's not just another blasé statement. You literally are what you eat. If I'm taking a sip of something and I'm taking a mouthful of something, my body's breaking down all the building blocks and that's becoming part of me at a cellular level. That's why we don't age well in the developed world. And if you go to a third world country, you'll meet people that are 70, 80, 90 years of age that are still working in the field.
Wow.
You'll go to Lebanon in the mountains and you'll see them at 80, 90 years old still having kids, bro.
That's unbelievable.
Right. And it's nuts because they're not wearing glasses, they're not wearing a hearing aid, and their posture is better than ours. When we were looking at the longest living communities for one of our postgrad research studies at Sydney Uni, we were looking at certain blue zones, they call them. And these communities, no supplements, through the foods that they ate, what was alarming to me was, okay, they lived longer. Like at 105, they looked 70. They were still working, they weren't retired, which is very important to keep your brain exercised. But we mentioned reading abstract material. The other way to keep your brain exercised is one of the theses that I wrote was the psychology of word problem solving. When you mix numbers with words, that's why school curriculums now have words with numbers mixed together. Like if you look at a maths textbook, the hardest questions are written. They're not numerical. And that's also proven to exercise your brain. But going back to the way we age and how food is playing a significant role in our early deterioration, these people not only had better hearing, better sight, but what raised alarm bells to me was bone density. Because one of the harshest things for an elderly to deal with, and anyone who's got old parents knows this, is fall syndrome. It's the scariest thing ever. Every time they fall, they break something. Because our bone density becomes very, very weak. Our bones become very weak as we age.
Happened to my dad.
Because everything that we eat becomes part of who we are. Just like when you finish a workout, your body tears down muscle, repairs it, and you get hypertrophy based on what you've eaten. So for every 48 to 72 hours, you got DOMS, you got soreness in the muscle, then the foods that you eat cause recovery, the muscle fiber gets bigger, hypertrophy. And if you train hard enough, the fiber breaks into two, you get hyperplasia, which is why people take growth hormone. Now, it's not just your muscles that food is nourishing, it's your skeletal tissue as well. You're literally getting a new skeleton on your frame every 10 years. So every 10 years, you get a new skeleton. So your bone density at 30 doesn't have to be worse than what it was at 20. Your bone density can get better through a bit of resistance training,
Of course.
and the right foods, because your skeleton is also tissue, and it's made out of the food that you eat. Now, if the food that you eat is progressively good, then your skeletal tissue is always getting better and better and better. But our diets regress. We stop paying attention to what we eat as we get older. We're like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm comfortable being 15% body fat. I don't really care about being under 10 anymore. You know what? I'm not going to train 6 days a week. I'm only training twice a week now because I'm busy. I've got a family, etc. So who cares if my diet is not 80% clean? It's only 60% good now.
You know what? I'm retired now. I don't play professional sport for a living. I don't need to eat this clean. I can splurge here and there.
That's exactly right. And that's where athletes go wrong. You are not eating to prepare for the match. You are eating to prepare for life. When you were working with me, you remember you had 3 eating plans. I gave you a diet for game day, which started the night before.
Yep.
I gave you a diet for training day, and I gave you a diet for your day off.
Yes.
So every player that I dealt with, outside of the club's nutritionist, the ones that saw me privately, you, Sonny, Quaid, all the boys that I worked with had 3 eating plans, and they followed them diligently, and the results. We saw the results.
Yeah.
The proof was in the pudding.
But I felt good. I felt I performed better. I felt like I could think better under pressure as well.
Yeah.
I just felt more aligned to what I do as well, because it gave me more of a purpose. But the reason it gave me more of a purpose because the understanding behind it. Like, people think nutrition is just you don't have to pay too much attention. It doesn't have
just
to be,
follow what it says on the paper.
Yeah, it's not. But for me, I look at it after dealing with you as one of the main pillars to everyday life.
But you notice your reaction time, like even just addressing hydration. People don't understand it's the basics. Before we even talk about peptides, before we talk about supplements, before we talk about any of that, just your sleep and your hydration accounts for 2/3 of the way you look and feel. If I told you there's a peptide that's going to improve your reaction time and your strength by 67%, 2/3 is 66.6 recurring, 67% increase. You won't care if that peptide costs 10 grand, because peptides and supplements may change or make a difference to your situation by maybe 5%, 10% maximum, unless you're taking anabolic steroids and other PEDs. Right, then you'll get a larger percentage of increase. But on average, 5 to 10% increase in terms of protein synthesis and whatever you're able to achieve. Imagine I told you there's a product that can increase your performance and your reaction time. As a footy player, it means whether you catch the ball or you don't. As a fighter, it means whether you get out of the way of that punch, or whether you land the punch or the takedown. Whether you sprawl in time or whether you don't sprawl in time if someone's shooting at you for a takedown. If I told you that this product is going to improve your ability to react and strength by 67%, you won't hesitate to give it your full undivided attention. That's what water is, and that's what sleep is. Now we know that 1 year of bad sleep ages you by 10. For every year of bad sleep, you get a sleep debt. Hydration, it's not 2 liters for everyone. It's 30 mils per kilogram of body weight, plus an extra 150 to 200 mils for every hour of flying. It's an extra 100 to 150 mils for every shot of coffee. It's an extra half a litre to a litre for every workout, on top of that 30 mils per kilogram of body weight. That's how it's calculated. You do that alone, and you've lubricated the neurons in your brain, you're alert during the day, and you're asleep at night like you should be. It's that simple.
It's pretty obvious that we don't abuse water, hydration, and sleep enough.
Very, very important. The quality of our water and the quality of our sleep, we address that, you're going to function 2/3 better as a human being.
And you mentioned sleep debt. Sleep debt is not a thing where, okay, I had 4 hours sleep last night, but I can make up an extra 4 hours during the day, right? Once you lose that 4 hours, you can't get it back. Is that correct?
You can, but you can't do it in one day. Like a lot of people will try and make up for 6 nights of poor sleep on a Sunday morning sleeping. How many times? And it's not just the duration of sleep. It's when you're sleeping too that matters. Sleep hygiene and sleep science is a different can of worms altogether. Like you can have a sleep specialist on here that will talk about one component of sleep for 2 hours. And we are still trying to understand sleep. Like you got to remember that scientists still thought that sleep was an evolutionary mistake until the year 2000. So until the year 2000, which was only 25 years ago, scientists were of the opinion that sleep was an evolutionary mistake. That somewhere between us evolving from chimpanzees, one of our ancestors took a nap and then it became something that we became dependent on. It's ridiculous. Sleep is critical, but it's not just the duration of sleep. It's the time that you're asleep, because different portions of the night are responsible for different types of flossing of the brain, if you want to,
REM sleep, deep sleep.
And they all serve a purpose. Having more deep sleep and less light sleep isn't necessarily the better option, because deep sleep might help recovery at a cellular level. Light sleep will help memory consolidation. REM sleep, the time where you're dreaming, is responsible for muscle recovery and tissue repair. So there's different portions of sleep that serve a different purpose. Deep sleep, you need about between 1 to 2 hours of deep sleep, and you're good. You need about 2 to 3 hours of REM, and the rest is light.
Which one is it where you process information while you're sleeping? Which one is that REM or is that deep sleep?
REM.
REM, yeah. Gotcha.
So what you want to aim for, the point is, sleep has parameters that you have to stick by. Sometimes you'll sleep for 10 hours and you'll wake up feeling like you need another 10.
Yep.
Today for me was one of them. I woke up, normally my routine is go to the mosque, go to the gym. Mate, after my morning prayer, straight back to bed. I couldn't function because of the type of day that I had yesterday, right? It affected my sleep. And the time that I went to sleep. If you're not in bed by 11, if you're not sleeping between 11 and 1, you can sleep for 10 hours and still wake up tired. Because if you're not sleeping between 11 and 1, it is very unlikely that you are going to get any deep sleep or deep recovery as part of your sleep duration. But there is a fix for it. If you've got the luxury of having an afternoon nap between the hours of 12 and 4, it has 3 to 4 times the effects of recovery that sleeping at night does.
Wow.
So, and you'll notice a lot of cultures have the siesta. Yeah, like in Islam we have what's called the qaylula, which is in between the hours of Dhuhr and Asr, which is roughly between midday 1 o'clock up until about 4 or 5 o'clock. Wow. Sleeping before that is going to make you sluggish. Sleeping after 5 is going to interfere with your nighttime sleep. In Spain, they sleep in the afternoon. I did a segment, I remember, on the 3 modern communities that are the healthiest, outside of the blue zones like Okinawa and places like that. And it was Sweden and Spain was another one of them. And it was the foods that they ate, like fermented foods, which are the best for your gut. And it was the type of life that they lived, like, finishing work at 3, having family time. It's so important for the unwinding routine. Your nighttime routine should not start in the final minutes before you go to bed. Your nighttime routine starts with breakfast, because the food that you eat in the morning is creating the neurotransmitters and the hormones that you need at night to sleep. You going home early, spending time with your family is creating an environment in the mind whereby the brain says, okay, now I'm in my safe zone. It's time to unwind. This is my safe space. It's time to unwind and settle down. Angst starts to come down. Cortisol starts to drop, and I can go to sleep. One of the patients I was talking to today, as I mentioned earlier, one of the markers that were alarming was the cortisol was low. And she said, but isn't that a good thing? I said, not in the morning, it's not. You don't want low cortisol in the morning. The whole point, that the reason why people get up in the morning and look at the sun, or as Huberman always talks about in every second sentence, or we get up and have a cold shower, is to increase cortisol. Cortisol is not your enemy. Cortisol, it needs to be elevated in the morning. Without cortisol, you'd be dead. You just don't want elevated cortisol in the evening. I said to her, you did this blood test very first thing in the morning, and your cortisol was like barely 100. That's not good. That's what it should be in the evening when you're trying to sleep. And she was wondering why she was lethargic all day. I said, well, that's why you're tired. That's why you're flat. That's why you can have, she said, I'll have pre-workout and I won't feel it. Mate, I said, your cortisol, you need to address the cause, stop addressing the symptom. No problem. If the caffeine hit is not working, but you need it, have it. Coffee serves a purpose. We shouldn't just be having coffee blasé. After 3 o'clock, start to taper it down. Try not to have coffee in the first hour so that you don't crash at 11 o'clock in the morning. Everything has a time and place. I'm not the type of person, as you know, that says no to anything. Any diet, any piece of paper that says you cannot eat or you cannot drink anything for the rest of your life isn't worth the paper it's printed on.
Speaking of diet, that's the next thing we're going to talk about.
We need to get your blood test done first.
I would love to.
You know what we should do? We should get your bloods done, sports bloods, and go through the bloods on here so people know how to read their own bloody blood test. Because the GP is going to look at it and say, oh, your cholesterol's fine. And then I'll look at the same blood test. I'm like, your cholesterol's not good, dude. The range, hypothetically speaking, is between 3 and 5.5, and you're 5.4. So what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for it to become a problem before we address it?
But I remember when was it? Maybe a couple of months ago, I was so sick. I had to go to the medical center, just a local medical center, to see a doctor. Anyway, I told the doctor my symptoms. Yeah. You know what I caught him doing? He was Googling my symptoms and trying to figure out. I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it.
Did he know you could see?
Of course he must. Yeah, he just
didn't care.
Nah.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sitting here on the table just like this. So I'm looking at him side profile.
That's horrible, man.
And I just went like that, the computer, and I could full see him Googling, like, he's just typing in my symptoms.
People forget that, like, the modern day doctor is, obviously, doctors do a great job and we need them and they cannot be replaced. But GP is a general practitioner.
Yes.
And you have to give them credit where credit's due. They have 10 to 15 minutes maximum to deal with you. Closer to 10. For him to look at every variable in the blood test, although it's not a 12-page report like the one I issue, the sports bloods that I ask my patients to do, although it's just a basic blood test, if he was to go to, or she was to go through every variable, you'd be in that office for an hour to an hour and a half. They don't have the luxury of that time, and they won't be making money.
That's a good point.
So they need you to swipe that Medicare card, look at the outliers, and they'll look at anything that's in bold. Depending on what pathology lab they're using, it'll either be in bold or it'll be in red. If it's not an outlier, they won't talk about it.
That's true.
It has to become a problem before they address it. Like, I looked at this patient's blood sugar levels this morning and I said, are you sure you didn't eat before this blood test? He said, no, but it's not an outlier. Like, it wasn't above the range. I said, yeah, but it was very close. I said, your fasting glucose levels are higher than what my glucose levels are after I've eaten a meal. My blood sugar levels, I was doing an experiment with that acai product I made. And I was checking the blood sugar levels before and after I ate it. After I ate it, my blood sugar levels were still 3.3, 3.4, 3.5. Her fasting blood sugar levels were close to 5, which should not be the case first thing in the morning. The other thing I said was, were you sick when you did this blood test? She said, no, I felt a little bit tired, but nothing in particular. I said, no viruses, you're not on any medication? No. Okay, so why is your white blood cell count so low? That's usually indicative of the body trying to fight off something, some sort of an infection. And you need to dig into that. They don't analyze bloods that way anymore. Pathologists will do their thing, give it to the GP, and the process is tedious anyway. Pay for your own private bloods. You don't have to wait in the waiting room. You get your results sent to you within 12 to 24 hours. And get someone that knows what they're doing to have a read of them and look at anything that's trending. Collate old blood tests, new blood tests. Clinical does a very good job at that. And put them next to each other, or they'll collate them for you, and then you'll be able to see, am I trending in a positive way, a negative way? Is something on its way to becoming a problem? Let's nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem.
What do you reckon, Pedro? You reckon we're going to get our bloods done or what?
I'm scared of needles, bro, but you go ahead, bro.
That makes it even funner. That makes it funner.
Yeah, I fainted, yeah.
Do you faint?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard one of the, I won't mention names, but one of the toughest guys in the area, he said that to me once.
The area.
Yeah, he said that to me once. He said, I'm afraid of petrified of blood tests. And he was being processed once before getting locked up. And he told them, and they thought he was joking, because he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, I pass out when I see needles. They're like, yeah, sure, mate. And he passed out, hit his head on the cement, the poor guy.
Oh, mate, I've been chopped up. I've been cut open that many times. Nothing scares me anymore. Like, I even went behind the curtain to see my wife giving birth, and when she had a Caesar, like,
I believe every dude should, just to be able to appreciate empathy. You can't put yourself in the shoes of the other if you don't know what it looks like or feels like.
Mate, what I saw,
you're never going to know what it feels like, but at least you know what it's, you know.
But fuck, like what I saw, like I can't even explain.
It's intense.
It won't. Me explaining it won't justify the experience. Like
it's one of the reasons why I like to encourage people, whether you're scared of needles or not. Encourage people since I started uni, and the Red Cross lifeblood van was outside Sydney Uni and donating blood, and the reasons for it. And you'll bruise up for a little bit, you can't train. But I was there the other day because I got a text, they needed plasma.
Yep.
And plasma takes it can take up to an hour and a half.
Plasma is the healing block that separates.
Yeah, and there are people that need that on a daily basis. Chemo patients need that daily. There are kids that are born that need blood transfusions daily to survive.
Fuck.
And we just, we take things for granted, and we don't realize how dependent on food and sustenance. From a religious perspective, we're reminded that we are not independent on a regular basis. But as soon as like a human being has a little bit of an income, has a platform, has a house, a spouse, a car, we feel like we're indestructible until we get sick. And a lot of us are walking around sick and we don't even know it. A lot of us are walking around not tapping into our potential because we think this is normal. We don't know. We've created a baseline, a homeostasis baseline that is so low, so subpar, that we don't know what it feels like to feel good. We have no idea.
Well, you're speaking about taking things for granted. Last year was probably the biggest year for me in terms of my health. Like, I have never been that sick in my entire life.
Was it traveling?
I traveled a little bit. No, I think it was just I was doing so much. Like, I was training hard, pretty intense. My plate was just always full, and I was just
the content that even people don't realize how taxing content is to create.
I'm not going to even say that, and I'm not expecting any sympathy. But I think most of it was also coming back to because my kids go to school, my youngest goes to daycare, so whatever they were, getting in contact with at school and bringing it home,
you had to fight that off too.
I was fighting on all fronts. But
your immune system's compromised.
It was compromised big time. But we also spoke about, which I want to touch on, is like the social media culture when it comes to dieting. Now, the diets that are peaking right now that come to mind are your carnivores, your ketos has been around for quite a bit now.
Different variations of it,
Different variations, of course. I think carnivore, right? Carnivore's
Carnivore's probably the most popular now. But they're all reincarnations. But I'll get people that say, bro, I did carnivore and I swear it worked. And I'm like, yeah, because you're at a point in your life where you were such a mess that anything you did was going to work. Like, imagine you're eating Maccas every day, you don't drink water, you don't eat sleep, and then all of a sudden, you're eating grass-fed beef 3 times a day with eggs, grass-fed butter, you've dropped your sugar intake completely, you're drinking water, you're exercising, no shit, you got good results. Whether you did intermittent fasting or whether you did keto dieting or whether you did paleo dieting or whether you did whatever you did.
Vegan.
You were gonna get results irrespective. But then what? They all have a lifespan.
Oh, 100%.
They all have a lifespan. Every eating plan that has come along, and you'll notice it's either to sell a book or an ideology, and they're all reincarnations of one another. If you're as old as I am, you'll remember the Atkins diet. The Atkins was the original low-carb diet. Then after the Atkins diet was the keto diet. Then it was paleo, and intermittent fasting was created as a precursor for keto dieting. A lot of people think intermittent fasting is a free-for-all between, say, 12 and 4 p.m. I saw one guy at Nando's once. I swear he had enough food to feed 5 people. I just thought he was waiting for the rest to arrive, or they were in the bathroom washing their hands. He goes, "Sit down, brother," with a V. "Brother, sit down, brother. Have something to eat." And I'm like, "You look like you got some company." Like, and I'm looking around. He said, "No, it's for me. I'm intermediate fasting." And I'm like, I didn't even want to start. I didn't want to correct the intermediate to intermittent. And I'm thinking, fuck. I said, imagine this guy was, so once upon a time he was a novice, now he's intermediate, and one day he'll be an advanced faster. But he was intermittent fasting, apparently, and he thought that he could have a large fries, a dozen wings, and whatever it may be. You know what the intermittent fasting protocol was created for? To prepare the body for keto. There is no carbs allowed in intermittent fasting. The way that it was originally designed, the caveman diet, the intermittent fast, had no carbs in there. 0. It was originally designed as 500 calories a day, 5 days a week, and 2 days a week of 2,000 calories a day. But every day, no carbs. 0.
Wow.
That's what intermittent fasting was. And then they changed it it was called the Fast 5. Then they changed it to the Fast 8. And I remember Current Affair called me once. They wanted to do an interview, and they came and saw me at the gym. And I said, "I'm at the gym. I can't leave. I've got patients." It was doing exercise physiology, and they came down. They said, "Why?" One of the questions was, "Why did the intermittent fasting protocol change from 500 calories a day on the fasting days to 800 calories a day?" I'm like, "Simple. It's not enough food. Who can survive on 500 calories a day? Your breakfast should be 1,200. An average female can have 1,200 calories a day and not gain a gram of weight. A woman. And where people go wrong, and this is probably another conversation for another day, is people think that the research that is coming out now is applicable to women. Most of the trials and studies that have existed today, and this is going to piss a lot of people off, the subjects are men. The data is biased. It might be longitudinal, and it might be different age brackets. It might be solid in that way, but it's very gender biased. There's a heavy gender bias when it comes to the data on creatine, contrast therapy, training fasted versus training with food. All of these studies that are all hot topics at the moment, the subjects, for the most part, or 85%, are men, not women. So contrast therapy, is it good for men and women? It's good for both, but the rules are different.
Yes.
For women, they respond better to heat therapy than cold therapy.
Yes,
and they shouldn't.
Because their body percentage fat is
correct,
higher.
and they shouldn't be doing it on the same day that they're training, whereas a man can get away with it. Fasting before, like training fasted, works for men. Bad idea for women. Causes a hormonal roller coaster. Women should eat before training. Strength training, the research on strength training on leg days versus upper body days, etc. The data, again, more of it is pertaining to men. The only solid one that I saw that was for women was how it increased a specific gland in the brain that is responsible for memory consolidation and keeps you feeling sharper as you get older. And with strength training, women who did do strength training increased, that gland increased in size by 2% per year versus regressing, because usually they start to shrivel away and you get degenerative diseases of the brain. Yeah. But a lot of the studies, the point is a lot of the studies, a lot of the data, a lot of the topics that we're talking about are very, very gender biased.
How do you view carnivore diet? Because like I, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I fell victim to the hype, and I was consuming, you know, scotch with 4 eggs every morning.
It's an expensive life.
It's a very expensive life, and I realized that I was only being a father of 3 kids, and obviously my wife. Like,
it's not sustainable.
Correct. But also, I was not enjoying it as well.
I had a mate that was doing $1,000 on red meat a week just himself.
And obviously grass-fed organic,
Wagyu, you know, Marble 9 and all the rest of it.
But it was, it was not only like obviously the protein benefits. It was more because I suffer from psoriasis, and I had a couple.
You get less inflammation.
Correct, but
initially.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but how does that? How do you? Isn't eating red meat, if you consume a lot of it,
inflammatory?
Exactly.
Okay, but like I said to you earlier, if you're eating a lot of processed foods and then you go to eating 0 processed foods, your inflammatory markers initially will drop. Then once you reach a new benchmark of, okay, now this is what the norm is.
Yeah.
Your body will start to react according to what it needs. It'll create signs of, I'm not happy with this, I need you to add something else. That's why foods have different colors. That's why we have red, green, and yellow capsicums, because the different colors are almost like a guide for a human being to use to navigate nutrition. Berries are different colors.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just remembered something. I remember I saw a carousel post and touching on different types of foods, right? Yeah. So if I'm going to use this as an example, like figs. Figs were good for your testosterone.
Exactly what they look like.
Exactly.
Walnuts look like brain matter.
Is that true?
100%.
Wow.
The shape of a food is navigating to you what primarily it's good for. Wow. The shape of it, as well as the color of it. So the different colors are to navigate. And a lot of the foods that we avoid in the carnivore diet are the foods that we need for gut health. You'll notice the gut, when we were looking at, there's a very good gastroenterologist that I work with in the UAE, Dr. Pauline Odrosky. I did a session with her on, we focused on how gut microbiota is affecting DNA, how it's affecting genes, gene mutation, how it's affecting women, newborn babies, different studies. We touched on all of that. And one of the key takeaways from that conversation was the carnivore dieters were very deficient in what's called a Shannon Diversity Index. Gut microbiome or gut bacteria is required not just in abundance, but in diversity. So it's like saying, I don't want a lot of one bacteria and not enough of the other. We need a diversity, because think of bacteria as a community that supports one another.
Yes.
This community feeds this community, that community feeds that community, and so on and so forth. That's good gut bacteria. Diversity as well as abundance. With the type of foods that you eat on a carnivore diet, you're not eating fiber. You're not feeding your stomach the type of foods that you need to nourish gut bacteria and gut microbiota. So over time, the gut will start to get unhealthier. After it gets healthier from you going away from the processed foods, because you're now eating whole foods, it gets healthier, but then the benchmark is still not good enough. The human body starts to send signs like constipation,
yes,
flare-ups in the skin, and you need good fogginess of thought. No clarity in the brain. So you need good gut bacteria for that to occur, because the gut affects the way that you feel more than your brain does. 70% of the serotonin, the neurotransmitter, is created in the stomach. And to get that, you need the fermented foods. You need sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles,
love sauerkraut,
pickled vegetables. You need fermented dairy product, which is lactose free anyway. For those people who are going to start sucking, you can't.
Sorry to cut you off. Did you say fermented food triggers serotonin?
Yes, because
You-
it's rich
the
in
more-
tryptophan, like goat's milk, yogurt, kefir, rich in tryptophan. Tryptophan is the key ingredient that the body needs to create serotonin. So when you've got serotonin through the foods that you eat during the day, and the other one was apple cider vinegar for the fermented beverage, or some kombucha, or non-alcoholic ginger beer. But when you've got an abundance of tryptophan in the stomach, your stomach starts to create, and your brain, 30% is made here, 70% is made here, a neurotransmitter called serotonin. Serotonin is the happy chemical.
Yes.
It's the reason why people take certain drugs. Okay, now, why is that important for sleep? Because after the sun sets, without your permission, without you setting a reminder on your phone, God allows your serotonin to be converted to melatonin.
Yes.
And that's where melatonin comes from. So if you're going to get melatonin prescribed 5 milligrams to help with your sleep issues, no problem. But why are you doing that? Address the cause. Increase the material that your body needs for melatonin. The hormone melatonin is created from serotonin. The neurotransmitter serotonin is created from tryptophan. Tryptophan comes from good food. Chicken, turkey, dairy products, whole proteins. It's all intertwined.
Oh, it's crazy how you say fermented food increase serotonin, because like I'm now thinking back, and the way I feel after eating it, I feel
You feel happier.
it's so bizarre.
You feel elated.
But I never knew it was coming from that.
Yeah. You feel
That is
elated
unbelievable.
because your stomach is telling you, I'm in a good place.
Yeah, right.
When your stomach is healthy, and
it makes sense.
you're regular in terms of your bathroom visits, and you've got a good healthy bacteria in the stomach, you've got good gut health, you're just in a better place.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're irritated or irritable and you don't even know why. And that most of the time it's because of poor digestion, poor gut health. We don't know how to combine foods correctly. Our gut microbiota is a mess. We eat fruit after food instead. After food, because we don't want to eat the kefir.
I'm glad you brought that up. Should I just take us there now since you brought it up?
Let's run an experiment.
That's right. You've already brought us there. So I brought us white vinegar at your request,
Yeah.
bicarb soda, all right, and of course a jug. Now,
The flask.
or whatever it is, yeah.
It is a jug, yeah.
You mentioned as well, like having fruit before you eat.
Yeah, which, a lot of communities still do that till today. In Southeast Asia, fruit is an appetizer. In Iran, fruit is an appetizer. In most countries, fruit is an appetizer. Gradually, with modernity, it started to become the other way around, which is completely wrong.
And when did that come about?
Fruits because we try to do the right thing without giving it too much thought. We have to ask ourselves, why did our ancestors do the things that they did? Foods digest at a rate according to the texture and density. So if something is soft and soft and has a smooth texture, generally speaking, it digests in 7 to 15 minutes, like fruit. Things that are tougher, like steak and meat, can take up to 4 or 5 hours.
Hence why lions, tigers, carnivores sleep
Correct.
most of the day.
Correct. So when you're eating, your body releases the enzymes necessary to break down the specific food that you're eating, but it also releases by default a bunch of hydrochloric acid, which will burn through your hand, and be able to break down anything, including concrete. Don't test it, but your stomach can break down concrete. Hydrochloric acid is very, very potent at breaking things down. But there's a lot of hydrochloric acid after you've eaten, say, steak and potatoes.
Yep.
Now, after you've got a lot of acid in your stomach, you introduce fruit, whether the fruit is acidic or not. Once it's digested, once it goes to your stomach, from your stomach to your intestines, it's alkaline. Even lemon is acidic, right?
Yes, of course.
But as soon as it passes the esophagus, it becomes the most alkaline food on planet Earth.
Wow.
It's alkaline. That's why it's added to warm water in the morning with apple cider vinegar to help with weight loss, to clean your stomach. Every fruit is alkaline. It's acidic outside. So if you introduce alkalinity to an acidic environment, you get a very gaseous reaction. You get bloating, you get indigestion.
Because I've seen as well with carnivore diets in particular, like influencers or people in general who are on the carnivore diet, they're mixing fruit with their meats.
Or now they're realizing they're not getting enough fiber.
Is that why the introduction of fruit is coming
So
into
you'll
play?
notice a lot of these eating regimes and diets will become hybrids of what they were in the beginning. The rules will change. Intermittent fasting will go from 500 to 800 calories on the day on. The rules will become a little bit more flexible because they're not sustainable. They lose their following. They lose the traction that they had when they first, the shock element that they had when they first came onto the scene. And obviously, because you've got so many experts that really understand food, will come out. Even gastroenterologists came out and said, "What are you doing? We are not designed." And a lot of the studies that were done on carnivore dieting were done, again, on animals. And animals have up to 500% more hydrochloric acid than human beings. A dog, for example, has 500% more hydrochloric acid in their stomach than a human being does.
Wow.
So that's why a dog can eat meat and go to the bathroom half an hour later, because to them, meat is like fruit.
Fuck.
But we don't have the hydrochloric acid in our stomach that an animal has. So how's that relevant to me?
Yeah, true.
With no further ado, I want you to do it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, done. Here, start off with...
So the vinegar is representative of the acidity of the stomach when it's digesting food.
Okay.
You don't have to put much. Like if you just put a little bit of vinegar in there, if you want a serious reaction, keep going if you want a serious reaction. So this is your stomach with acid in it, with the acidity in there due to the food that you are eating.
Okay.
The food that is hard to digest.
Okay.
Now you introduce an alkaline environment through fruit, through bicarb soda, and this is good to do with your kids at home to teach them a lesson as well. Or teachers that have primary kids.
Do I need a spoon or just dump it in there?
I just dump it in there.
Keep
But it will
going.
give you a rough idea. You did not expect that, did you? That's what happens, bro.
Oh, shit.
And you wonder why after fruit after food makes you bloat very quickly. So when next time you're at the Chinese restaurant and they bring out the watermelon platter,
Yep.
give it a miss, man. Order the fried ice cream instead, because the fried ice cream is probably better for you than the fruit.
I think we might take a minute break to clean this mess up. We'll come back.
The knefe is better for you.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
I wasn't expecting... Why did you tell me to stop?
I did it on purpose.
Oh, we're back. That was a bit of a fiasco.
After a good clean
Yeah,
up.
we almost blew up.
I'll set you up proper then.
We always blew up in the studio
yeah.
from that experiment, but we're here now. We spoke briefly about fasting, the benefits that come with that, and obviously it's been around Islamic culture for years.
Every
and years.
culture. If everyone fasted, if every tradition, if every religion, every Abrahamic faith has fasting allocated and designated to it. But if everyone followed it according to how it was structured, it would be healthy. I think the way Christians do Lent is quite tough. Like no animal products or byproducts for 40 days. You're not having. You don't have sunset to look forward to having a steak. It requires quite a bit of discipline, but it's a very, very good detox. But then again, people will modernize that and say, I'm just going to refrain from something that I find tough.
Tempting.
Yeah, like I'm going to stop binge watching TV, or I'm going to stop eating chocolate because I'm really addicted to chocolate. So my version of fasting is I'm going to go off chocolate for 40 days.
I'll have lollies.
It's not that for me. Yeah, it's candy as well, but it's not. That's not the way it should be. It should be done the way it's structured, and if it was done that way, the benefits are amazing.
Well, let's touch on the religious point of views first. So, the point of Ramadan, the point of Lent, is to spiritually detox the body and the soul, right?
And empathy.
And
It's to suppress the lower self, the me, the subject of me. I want more. I want to eat this. I want this. It's to put the person second, to put yourself second.
Yeah, well.
And it's not just about, it is about empathizing with people who have less, who don't have food at their disposal. We live in a society that we discard off 2/3 of what we purchase as Australians. Half of planet Earth or more goes to sleep hungry at night. And we chuck out almost 2/3 of the groceries that we purchase from the grocery store. We have too much in our fridges, and we don't know what it feels like. This is a wake-up call, not just to what it feels like to have less, but also to your fragility. This is to remind you that you are fragile. If we take food and water away from you, you are very fragile. You can't function the way you think you can. And you don't know what empathy is until you literally experience what the other individual is experiencing. And it's also to lower and suppress the self, because a great perspective to look at it from is in terms of refraining from sin. A lot of people have certain addictions that are considered a sin irrespective of what faith you follow, right? And they will say, I can't stop that addiction, whether it be drugs, whether it be someone who's a womanizer, whatever. I can't stop that addiction. I have an addiction. Fasting teaches you that not only can you stop that which is forbidden, you can stop that which has been given you, God has given you the green light for. Because is it haram or forbidden to eat and to drink? No. But during the hours of fasting, it is. So God's showing you that you are a lot stronger than you think you are. You not only can refrain from that which is bad for you, you can even refrain from that which is good for you for a certain period of time. So God is teaching you that you're a lot tougher than what you think you are. You're a lot stronger than what you think you are. And when you suppress and your appetite to your lower desires, and you see food as a source of nourishment, and then you start to really appreciate food as not just a source of fun, science shows and statistics show that the person who doesn't overconsume food is less likely to go out and gamble, take drugs, and have multiple partners and be promiscuous. Which makes complete sense. Because you are the person who, gives in to their desires when it comes to food and does not know when to pull the pin. I know that I'm satiated. I've had one burger. I'm happy. I'm satisfied.
Content.
But I can feel it. I can fit in another one. The person who goes for that second burger or overeats or has copious amounts of food, that same person is more likely to not filter their ego when it comes to doing other things.
Misjudgment creeps in.
Correct. So I punted $10 on this particular fight. I'm going to refrain from doing any more. The person who overeats is more likely to go out and gamble more, is more likely to be promiscuous. That's scientifically proven. Is more likely to partake in anything that satisfies their desires and puts their desires above their own health first. That's proven.
That's really important to listen to. Never looked at it that way. If we're going to talk about as well fasting in the modern world right now. So for me, I challenged myself and I fasted for, 72 hours. All right.
Water fast?
Water fast.
Yeah,
correct.
I've done that before. I did up to 10 days.
Yeah. You've done 10 days.
Yeah.
So I know there's...
It was tough, man.
I can imagine. I know there's like physical benefits as well.
Yeah.
As well as cognitive benefits. But I took it as more like as a challenge, as a mindset thing. Like not to, like you said, just don't...
See if I'm tough enough.
Yeah, don't give into it. Don't give into temptation or food.
Yeah.
But can you explain to me, like, is fasting like that long?
That type of fasting...
Is that healthy for you?
Not for everybody. The unhealthy individual should not do that.
Yeah.
If you're not healthy, you should not do that. Because if you've got blood pressure issues and you don't know, and you've got blood glucose issues and you don't know, you could slip into a bloody coma or cause yourself to have a stroke just because you're malnourished and dehydrated. Because you've got to compensate in other ways, especially if you're lean as well. If you don't have enough fat reserves, which is the diesel type of fuel that the body holds, you need to make sure that you're hydrated and you're using electrolytes.
Can I say I got sick from that though? So I've got...
From the fast?
Yeah. I got... So day 3 and then I'm approaching day 4. Sorry, just after my 72 hours, I ended up having dinner. And can I say, the food tasted unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember to this day, I had a nice grass-fed Scotch fillet and then I had
Your senses are heightened.
broccolini,
Yeah.
and then I had it with I think just a salad.
Yeah.
And like the taste, I've never tasted meat like
We
that
don't know
before.
what food tastes like anymore.
It
You've got to
was
stop eating to
unbelievable.
taste it.
But the following couple of days after, I ended up getting sick.
Yeah, after fasting water fast, it's not like fasting Ramadan. You can't just go for a free for all.
Fuck.
You have to for the first 12 hours.
It rocked
You
me.
can only eat soup and maybe fruit and soft fruits.
But I think it was more sick because my immune system was down.
Probably.
And,
But you're quite lean too, so you got to
Yep.
remember when your body runs out of fat as a fuel source, only then does it start to tap into muscle. And a lot of the bro science advocates will say, "Oh, I don't want to do cardio because I don't want to burn muscle." It's not that easy to burn muscle as a fuel source.
Yeah.
And you'll trust me, when you're burning muscle, you'll know because you'll get sick.
Yeah.
It's a toxic fuel source. When the body depletes glycogen, stored carbohydrates, which is like, think of it as premium unleaded, then the body depletes fat, like diesel. Only then will the body start to tap into muscle. So when it starts to tap into muscle, by then, it's a toxic fuel source, so you're going to feel sick.
Mm-hmm.
And when you become catabolic, you're immunocompromised, you feel weak, you start get hot and cold flushes, mainly cold. You can't keep warm. It's horrible. You feel very frail.
Yeah, does fasting also kill radicals and dead cells?
If fasting done correctly, the way a lot of Muslims are fasting today, which is a free-for-all food marathon from sunset to sunrise, that's not fasting. Fasting is portion control, being minimalistic in the way that you approach food, eating just enough to get you by to the next day, then it will be healthy. If you're having a free-for-all of whatever you want, it defeats the purpose. It's not good for your stomach. I get people gaining weight during fasting, which is nuts. It's completely antithetical to what it's about.
So like, if I was to, when do you, I can't remember, what's the word when your body starts eating itself?
Autophagy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so autophagy is what the goal is, and you will achieve autophagy irrespective of what type of fasting you are doing if you refrain from overeating.
Wow.
So if you, it'll take longer during Ramadan because you're not refraining from carbohydrates and you're not going full days without eating. But if you're looking at a water fast, you'll achieve autophagy in 3 days. If you're doing a Ramadan type of fast, it might take 2 weeks.
So for the non-Muslim, if you're eating correctly,
Yeah, you'll start tapping into the toxic cells as a fuel source. So there are no toxic cells there that can potentially be carcinogenic. Even till today, the only research, evidence-based, proven way to prevent cancer, especially early signs of tumors, is fasting. And that's internationally agreed upon. That's universally agreed upon. Because the best way to kill something is to starve it. The best way to kill something is to starve it.
how's your intermittent fasting going there, Josu? Jump on the mic, brother. I'm curious to hear this.
So I don't eat between about like 6:30 and like 12 in the afternoon.
6:30 in the morning and midday.
In the evening till
12:30 lunchtime till
12
6.
lunchtime, from 6 in the evening to 12 lunchtime.
Oh, okay. So you do quite a long fast.
I do it to try and drop calories,
Okay.
to cut, lose weight, shred
But
out.
are you do you deplete carbohydrates as well?
Not necessarily. I'm more just I watch what I eat and in like a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And just slowly in and out. But I don't track my calories because I think I know quite well what I'm eating.
So that's very good for general weight loss. But if you really want to tap into improved body composition, so losing fat, preserving muscle, you'd have to be very strategic with what you eat during the hours that you do consume food.
Okay.
Because if it's like I said, like that other guy that I told you about,
Yes.
it was just having a free-for-all.
Free-for-all, yeah.
That's not necessarily going to be a good thing. He probably won't lose weight anyway. If he does, it'll be minimal, and it's definitely not good for your digestive system.
We'll wrap up the show because I know you've got 5 conferences after this because you're a busy man.
Yeah.
I want to give you some rapid fire questions. And just short answers. Fasting for athletes, yes or no?
Unless it's for religious beliefs, no.
Creatine every day.
Yes.
Most overrated supplement.
Pre-workout.
Most underrated supplement.
Glutamine.
Glutamine. I thought you were going to say L-carnitine. Cheat meals, helpful or harmful?
Helpful.
Why?
The excess calories helps regulate the relationship between leptin and ghrelin. It just reassures the body that you're not going to starve to death.
Daily supplement or supplements?
Supplements.
EG,
What are they?
EG.
Multi,
Yep.
alpha lipoic acid, vitamin D, because you're all vitamin D deficient. EPA DHA, which is the active constituent of omega-3. You do those in vitamin C. 3 to 5,000 megs of vitamin C a day, about 2 to 3,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. Don't take those megadose supplements like 50,000 IUs once a month, because it's not about whether you're going to forget or not. It's not if you're going to forget, it's when you forget. 1 or 2 months, you're going to forget to take that once a month supplement, and saturation drops very drastically. If you're microdosing, it's more tedious to take supplements daily. However, if you forget to take them for a couple of days, which will happen when you travel, etc., you're not going to drop saturation, as I gave the example before with creatine and the cup of coffee that I was holding. Saturation drops a little bit if you forget, if you're taking 1,000 IUs a day. If you take 50,000 IUs once a month and you forget for a couple of months, you're going to feel it when you drop by 50,000 IUs in saturation.
How and when do you consume supplements?
Halfway through a meal is best for bioavailability, because a lot of the supplements are tough in texture to break down unless they're gel capsules. So they're very taxing on the stomach to break down. The stomach requires quite a bit of hydrochloric acid to break them down. So you don't just get better breakdown of the supplement, you get better absorption of what is in the product, especially if it's a very hard tablet or capsule.
Because you secrete most of it when you don't have food, correct?
Correct,
Yep.
yeah.
Fish oils.
So fish oil, what we benefit from, if your fish oil gets broken down into omega-3, 6 and 9, 3 is the most beneficial. The others can be toxic. And then we don't absorb omega-3. The body breaks that down into EPA DHA. So I take 2 grams of EPA DHA with breakfast, 2 grams with dinner. But that's equivalent to taking 20 to 40 fish oil capsules. You'll notice there's a reason why you can buy 400 fish oil capsules at the chemist on sale for $10. But ask yourself, you need 1 full fish almost to get a gram of EPA DHA. So how are you giving me 400 grams for $10? You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
The average price you should be paying for a supplement is roughly $1 per capsule when it comes to fish. If it's anything less than that, I'd question the quality of it.
Tap water, helpful or harmful?
Toxic, man. I've seen, it's cheap these days to change your filtered water to run through the entire home. I've seen people with severe dermatitis, eczema, etc., get rid of all their issues after seeing every dermatologist in the country by changing their filtered water to run through the entire home. So the showering, the washing, brushing the teeth, etc.
You're kidding.
Getting rid of all dermatitis issues.
Because that's one thing I suffer from.
Eczema, yeah, same.
I
Same.
can't even explain how it's just popped up my hands. I got it on my elbows, my knees.
A lot of the water that we consume is rubbish, but it's not just the water that we ingest. It's the water that we expose our largest organ. The skin is the largest organ.
Yeah, right.
Showering with the water that we use is even toxic.
Now, I know you make pre-made meals.
Yeah.
How do we find that, and how do people buy it?
The meals are mealsbymoodi.com.au. The supplements are moodup.com.au. Everything that is there is vetted by me. Everything is grass-fed, hormone-free, market fresh. And if I won't eat it, I won't ask you to eat it.
And I can vouch for that because I know we're talking about portion control today, but I end up having 2. And let me tell you.
We had a feed before, yeah.
Yeah. What were the wraps again? What were the wraps?
The Portuguese wrap.
Portuguese
But
wraps.
that's bias coming from someone.
It is a bit biased, but when you're talking about the spinach wrap or bread, what was it?
Fiber. Fiber negates carbohydrates. We don't understand. A lot of people don't know that. If you're eating 5 grams, berries are good at night because they have 5 grams of carbs, roughly, per serving. But you also get about 5 grams of fiber. And 5 minus 5, which you're allowed to do with carbs and sugars and fiber, is 0. So that's something to always keep in mind.
Moodi, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
It's
always
pleasure.
great to see you, and I appreciate you being so generous with your time. And of course, you're so intellectually generous all the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
bro.
you so much, brother.
Thank you.